So these little girls have continued to incite a mob, and I've been harassed all day. Not only did they took it down from St. George Post and her Facebook, but now she put it on Instagram and now she put it on TikTok.
If I have to watch your ass cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
We would love for you to call the police. Go ahead and call the police.
We were at a restaurant yesterday. A bunch of girls walk in. Their skirts were so short. So I got up, got the skirt, and I scooted it down.
Reached her hands, her cold hands went up my skirt, and I felt her hands up my skirt, and then I felt like a tug.
At some point, something needs to be done. It needs to be stopped.
What do you want me to do?
Have you ever witnessed a wardrobe malfunction in public? Like maybe your friends have accidentally tucked their shirt into their underwear, or someone stepped out of the bathroom like with a trail of toilet paper stuck to their shoe. Whether it's a friend or a complete stranger, I feel like we've all silently agreed that there's one of two ways to handle witnessing a malfunction. Either you politely like whisper in their ear and let them know, or you say nothing at all and mind your business. Some people are entitled a-holes with no clue on how to act in public.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to me.
I'm taking a picture calling the cops.
Please.
Right now, your ass is grass. Right. Go ahead, put me on social media. You're a little punk.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
Allow me to introduce today's main character, or Karen-ter, as some might say, Ida Ann Lorenzo, a 49-year-old woman who really should have known better, but didn't, but definitely does now, because not long ago when she went out for a bite, she spotted a wardrobe issue so upsetting, so offensive to her that she decided she needed to make a citizen's arrest of someone's personal assets, and well, instead she got a lesson in how the justice system actually works, and it's wild.
Get out of here! Give me my keys! Get out! Give me my keys! Put your hands on everybody! Get the out of here!
But first, hi, hello, it's Swoop, and welcome to the dark waters of the Suspool, the place where everything and everyone is sus. Dare I say, maybe even us? Come on in, the water's fine. Welcome back, Suspirians. I hope you've come prepared for the most unhinged, most infuriating, absurd video that I have seen in a hot minute. If you're new here, welcome to my second channel. On my main channel, Swoop, I do full-length deep dives, and over here, we dip into the dark waters of bizarre, twisted, sometimes scary, always sus stories while trying to figure out who or what belongs in the cesspool. So, my dear Suspirians, feel free to guess along with us in the comments about where the true sus of this story is, and as the story unfolds, let's find out if our first guess was correct. And of course, if you're into mind-bending, dark, twisted, sometimes completely unhinged tales, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, bring a towel, and go ahead and just tickle the like button. She likes it right under the chin or maybe on the sides, and just give her a little I don't know what that was. Okay, we're gonna dive face first into the cesspool, but first I gotta ask you a question. ¿Cómo está andando la tu estate? How has your summer been going? Dame el té, give me the tea. One of the things that really relaxes me and kind of keeps my mind off of the chaos is learning something new. So I have been learning Italian with Babbel. So a huge thank you to Babbel for sponsoring today's video. Like, long story short, basically I spent a month in Europe a while back working on a film, and I fell so in love with Paris and Italy. So I've been learning how to speak Italian and like polishing up my French with Babbel so I can travel there again and not be a mess trying to communicate. Okay, è stato imbarazzante. It was embarrassing. So I am so excited to be partnering with Babbel for this video. They've been a fantastic supporter of the Suspool community. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world, and I am hooked. I've been using Babbel for a few months now, and it is a game changer. Babbel is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. Honey, I can't even get a Swoop doc done that fast, but a new language, sì, grazie. Yes, please. I love Babbel because it's like having a personal language coach right on your phone with lessons designed by real language experts to guide you to real life conversations about travel, food, relationships, and business. Like, you can seriously learn so much in just 10 minutes a day. Easiest 10 minutes ever. So it has different ways that you can go through it. You can like record yourself saying it and it'll verify if you're saying something correct or not before it'll let you proceed. Or you could like just listen to it.
Come ti chiami?
Come ti chiami? I did it right.
Piacere, io mi chiamo Andrea.
Piacere, io crap! Piacere, io mi chiamo Andrea. Got it. I got 8 out of 10, so I have some improvement to do. You'll have practical, real-world conversations in no time and have so much freaking fun doing it. Sono dipendente. I am addicted.
Sì, anch'io sto bene, grazie.
Sì, anch'io sto bene, grazie. Yes, I am also well, thank you. So join me, my fellow Suspirians. Why not have some fun learning a new language with me? What language would you like to learn? Tell me about it in the comments, whether it's for connecting with family, travel, or even just having fun and impressing your friends. Tap my link below to get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription today. That is such a massive deal, and for those hesitating, just want to let y'all know, Babbel offers a 20-day money-back guarantee, so there's really no risk. So grab your 60% off and have fun learning your new language. Ciao bella, treat yourself, honey, you deserve it. All right, Suspirians, grab your nose plugs and let's dip into the cesspool. It was a balmy April night in the small desert town of St. George, Utah, and a local favorite, a Sakura Japanese steakhouse, was packed with customers waiting to be seated. Clusters of teenagers gossiped amongst themselves, and families queued up, all waiting for an open seat at one of the hibachi stations where chefs would entertain them with onion ring volcanoes and by flipping teriyaki shrimp into their mouths. It was going to be a busy and profitable night until something incredibly bizarre happened. So enter our first swimmer in the cesspool, Miss Ida and Lorenzo. Come on down!
Come on down! You're the next contestant on The Price is Right!
So Ida was waiting in the lobby with her boyfriend and teenage son. Now, as you will repeatedly hear in the video clips we're about to play, Ida works for the Utah State Department.
I happen to work for the state.
And she's just 2 months into her new job as a legal secretary at the Attorney General's office. Which, sidebar, are we using the word secretary now? Like, are there qualifiers to this word? Because I thought that secretary was like big, big bad, but they say it here, so I'm just sticking to the facts. I don't know. I thought it was like a legal assistant or paralegal. Leave me a comment if you know. Anyways, so Ida was here to treat herself to a nice steak dinner for a job well done on being a insert legal job title here. Ida has a side hustle, okay? I'll go and get that bag, girl. And apparently that side hustle involves moonlighting as the local fashion police. So this brings us to our next suspect swimmer in the cesspool. That was hard to say. Suspect swimmer in the cesspool. 18-year-old hairstylist and Utah micro-influencer CC Snow, who was also standing in the lobby of the Sakura Steakhouse with her friends when a commotion broke out in front of her between Ida and Lorenzo and one of her friends. So she pulled out her phone and filmed part of their altercation, and then did as anyone does and posted it to social media the next day with the opening overlaid caption reading, Karen gets upset that my friend is wearing a miniskirt, so she aggressively grabs it, yanks it down, and says, "You're probably underage, you probably shouldn't be wearing that," then causing a scene in a busy restaurant. End quote. You want to see the video that we're talking about? Yeah. You want to see the video.
What the fuck is happening? I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your ass cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS. Do it. So,
yeah, go for it right now.
She's over 18.
She is 19 years old.
You don't get to touch her. You don't get to touch her. We're all sitting over there. You don't get to touch her. Then don't come up and talk to her. You do not get to touch her. Really?
We would love for you to call the police. Go ahead and call the police.
Why are you?
So you might be thinking, what the did this Karen pants a girl in public wearing a skirt? Like, is this an assault of a skirt? Is this a skirting? Like, not very demure, not very mindful.
Very demure, very mindful.
What is happening? Well, so what you're watching is the aftermath of the alleged attack upon the skirt, with a group of teenage girls coming to their friend's defense against Karen. Excuse me, I mean Ida, who is clearly like on one of those cranky lady power trips of the highest level.
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your ass cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS. Really?
We would love for you to call the police.
Like, Ida Ann skipped, or should I say, skirted the entry-level Karen position and went straight for the role of CEO, Chief Executive Offended. 14.8 million people so far have watched this video, and Ida was getting Kentucky roasted in the comments, like wild boar on a spigot roasted, like Thanksgiving turkey roasted, chestnuts on an open fire roasted. Now, Cece clarified in a story time posted the next day that her group of girlfriends had come to the restaurant to celebrate one of their birthdays on a Friday night and that the place was packed. The girls were dressed for the looks, honey, and in the video, in my opinion, they're dressed exactly the way zillions of micro-influencer teens dress. I mean, actually, if we're being real, they got a lot more on than what I've seen at these influencer events that I've been to. I may have been known to wear less things on occasion, so I don't know, like maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe this is just, not a big deal, Karen. But what are the odds that of all the shrimp tossing hibachi spots in all of the towns, this Karen walks into this one with that skirt?
So me and a ton of my friends were at dinner for one of my friend's birthday parties that night at this really nice restaurant in our city, like the nicest restaurant. It's just the best restaurant in our town. So it was super busy. Saturday night, there was high school dances that night. There was tons of dance groups, tons of people. Like, it's a 2-story restaurant. Like, keep in mind, it's huge. So there was a ton of people in the waiting room, just like so many people to see this all go down. And she comes up to my friend and she reaches under her skirt, yanks it down, and then squeezes her sides because she's wearing a crop top. And it's like, you're probably underage. You probably shouldn't be wearing that. Which you just imply that you think she's a minor and you just assaulted her.
Yeah. That part. Fiddly-dee! Now, we'll come back to this, but I have one simple question. If you think she's underage, why are you putting your hands on her? So, the girl she touched was in shock, understandably, and didn't want to make a scene, which, again, I totally get it. Having someone put their hands on you in a violating way is jarring, never mind the fact that it all took place in public. Listen, I've had experiences like this. I've had experiences that were like, more like a short little story time. So, like, I was performing at this huge music festival. I'm a musician. You know that, right? You know I'm a musician? Okay, yeah, I'm a musician. So I was performing a show, and after my set, I was kind of like, hanging out on the festival grounds in my like post-show little wardrobe. And as I am there minding my own business, I feel a hand literally like come underneath from behind. They're from behind. They came underneath my ass and literally stuck their finger or tried to shove it right up my crotch. Listen, that is a place that is reserved for people that I deem worthy of that place, right? And so I was wearing these shorts and I just feel this hand go straight up there and like without hesitation or thought, I immediately like reach back and grab this arm. I had no idea who it was, hadn't seen them. They were literally directly behind me. And I just grabbed their arm. I like wrench it and I completely twist their arm like completely backwards and upside down the way the arm's not supposed to go. And I turn around and I see that it's a chick. It's this girl. She was like, I felt like she could just, I don't know what was going on in her mind, but she thought she could just like finger me in public right then and there. And I swear to you, I felt like I was so close to breaking her arm, which would have been justified because she literally just essayed me in public from behind.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences.
Now, obviously, like I've been through worse situations, but like that was such a violating moment. But all I could think of was that I was really proud of my response. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I was really happy to know that in that moment, without thought, people talk about fight or flight. It was very reassuring for me to know that my instantaneous response was fight. And that's what I did. And I almost broke her arm and I cussed her the out. My manager was with me, cussed her out too, and then that was the end of that. So I know a little bit about strangers putting their hands on you in public places. Yeah, don't do it. So back to the story. Teenagers, they're there. Of course, they're trying to comfort their friend about the incident like, any good friend would, and also talk about the unhinged lady who just very likely assaulted their friend, because how are you not gonna say anything after that, right? But unfortunately, it gets worse because this freshly dubbed Karen could just not let it go. Take a hint, Karen.
So my friend comes in, she's in shock, and she's telling us all like what happened. And we're all obviously talking about it in the waiting room. And the lady's sitting down on a bench and we're kind of just standing there because there's nowhere to sit. And we're looking at her, you know, you can tell that we're talking about what just happened. And that's when she comes up and everything goes down in the video where she's like, I'm gonna call CPS, like, bitch, what the fuck? I'm gonna call the police, your ass is hanging out, whatever. At the end of the video, when I cuts off, is when the store manager comes up and is like, you need to sit down. Like, this is not okay. Keep in mind, everyone she came with is sitting on the bench, just like red-faced, so embarrassed. No one's coming to stick up for her. She's very clearly in the wrong. And she's trying to be like, all of us have to, you know, and we're just like, all of you, no one is here but you. Like, you're the only one that cares, you know?
Now, remember this part for later because Ida's memory of the events is definitely in the Suspool. But not only was Ida on this whole, like, I'm going to show this teen, like, how to behave by putting my hands on her whole power trip thing. I'm just like, honestly, when you think about it, why the hell would someone think that that's the right way to teach someone anything? I don't understand the logic there. But like, it also sounds as though she like did this to deliberately humiliate that girl in public, right? Like, how are you gonna put your hands on that girl and then go sit near them in the same room and expect them not to say anything about your behavior, the lion, the bitch, and the wardrobe? Literally the whole great audacity. And like, what do you think Ida would have done if someone came up to her teenage son and pulled down his pants in front of a whole ass restaurant? You cool with that, Ida?
What's up, bro?
Ida? But she couldn't let it lie, and she caused such a scene to the point where even the restaurant manager was getting tired of her like carrying all over the place and had to tell her to basically take a time out. Now, it's not totally clear how the incident ended, but the police were never called to the restaurant, so I don't know. Maybe they flipped a shrimp into her mouth to keep her quiet. I don't know. Now, that night, Cece posted the viral video to a local Utah Facebook group trying to identify the woman.
So she goes and sits down, whatever, we go on with our night. The next day, I post a video on Facebook, word of mouth, for my city, and I'm like, explain what happened, whatever. I'm like, anybody know this lady? Whatever. Someone messages me and they send me her Facebook. So I go to it, and if you know Facebook, it says like where you went to high school, your date of birth, whatever. It says where you work. And she says, I work for the state, you know? So I'm like, okay, let's see where you work. She works with the Utah State General Attorney's Office. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, literally fucked, you know, like filing a complaint, you're getting fired, whatever. So I message her and I'm like, good luck, you know, just like kind of petty, whatever. And she was literally like, I have a written threat now. And I'm like the video I have?
So Cece said that they planned on filing a complaint with her workplace, but also that the alleged victim did not want to file a police report, but we will get to that. Now, Ida blocked Cece after they exchanged a few snide messages, and Cece believes that Ida reported her Facebook post with the video of the incident because it was taken down a few days later, even though Ida has something else to say about that, which is what led Cece to post the clip on TikTok. Like, that's exactly where Karen wanted that clip to go. And this would set into motion the wheels of, shall we call it, internet justice. And this story is about to get a whole lot more unhinged.
What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
So right now, in this moment, obviously I've shared some of my thoughts, but who do you think belongs in the Suspool? Because I'm willing to listen if you think it's the other way around right now. Let me know in the comments. You know how your mother always warned you not to post anything on the internet you wouldn't want your job to see? In the ruthless age of smartphones and TikTok, that also means you should try your best not to do anything you wouldn't want posted to social media, because if you're in public, and unfortunately sometimes even if you're not, there's always someone watching. And Ida Ann is a classic example of around and found out, because after Cece's TikTok video went viral, Ida became public enemy number one. People found her name and place of employment because, as she's repeatedly mentioned, she's an employee of the state. In this economy, that is not really the flex that you think it is. But I do have to sadly report, in a horrible twist of fate, Miss Ida Ann had taken ill. Yes, it seems like she's been struck with a severe case of victim complex, an illness triggered by none other than the consequences of her own actions.
Your actions have consequences!
Now, did the internet hate reach unnecessary proportions? Have you met the internet? Yes, it did. But also, yeah, she skirted a teen in public without consent. The internet discourse became so disruptive to her everyday life that Ida decided to make a call to the local police station.
So I have a bunch of little 18, 19, and 20-year-olds harassing me. They got offended because we were at a restaurant yesterday in public forum. We were sitting on the bench waiting to be seated. It was pretty packed because, as you know, the senior ball was yesterday for most of the high schools. And so I was sitting with a 10-year-old sitting on my left-hand side, on my right-hand side, my boyfriend on the left-hand side, and nothing but the whole rest of the wall was filled with 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And a bunch of girls walk in, they go to make their reservation and are waiting to be seated, and one of their skirts were so short that as we're standing there, I see the 10-year-old pointing to one of them, and you could see her entire and the butt cheeks and everything hanging out. And I mean, we were just sitting there, and I was shocked. I haven't worked for the state of Utah, and I was like, oh my God, that is completely inappropriate. We do not need to be sitting at a restaurant having a 10-year-old look at someone's private part.
So now more of the story unfolds, and it allegedly now involves a butt. As in buttocks, as an ass. We are talking about an ass. But what I can't get behind, see what I did there? Okay. Sorry, I got dad jokes for days. What I can't get behind is placing your hands on said behind without said consent. Ida alleges that she was waiting in the lobby, seated beside another patron's 10-year-old son who was pointing to the girl's skirt. And that's what made her decide to take on Katy Perry's ill-placed main character energy. But remember when Cece said that everyone in the room behind Ida was embarrassed that she was causing a scene? Well, Miss Ida remembers it a little differently.
I got up and I scooted her skirt. I got the skirt and I scooted it down to cover her private part. And the dad that was with the 10-year-old, he was like, thank God. And I was like, oh my God, is everything okay? And he's like, I would be accused of sexual harassment if that had happened.
Okay, can we just pause for the cause? In this call to the police, Ida literally says that some grown man watching literally told her, quote, thank God if I had done that, meaning if I had pulled down that teenager's skirt, I would be accused of sexual harassment. If that had happened, Ida, my dear Ida, do we see the problem here? If you're saying that if a man did this, he would be accused of sexual harassment, then why the do you think you wouldn't be? I cannot be the only one who sees this double standard, right? Like, she had to have seen that? I don't. And again, being that Ida thought that the girl was underage, she wasn't, but she thought she was. Why are you calling attention to a minor like that in public? I'm just out here in the universe asking questions.
And so as I did that, everyone around me that we were sitting, they were all minors. The little girls were like, we shouldn't have to see that. Can't they get in trouble for that? And I was like, at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I probably, should report this or something. And next thing I know, as I'm sitting there listening to all these little teenagers around me, I'll applaud us for, no one wants to see that, right? And they don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. But we shouldn't have to see someone's private parts in a restaurant.
Now, I will ask because, we don't exactly know the length of the skirt, although you can see it in the video, and it looks like a regular short skirt length. But of course, I wasn't there. I don't know if there was some proportion where cheekage was happening, nor do I want to see a photo if that exists, but let's play devil's advocate for a quick second. If cheeks were somehow blowing in the breeze in the restaurant, in your opinion, does that give Ida the right to do what she did? Take a second, leave a comment, and then let's move on, because holy this is about to get so much more unhinged. Now, what dearest Ida Ann does next takes this into some legendary Karen territory, threatening to call the police, or in this case, Child Protective Services, on a legal adult.
So my boyfriend and I were discussing how to best approach that. And he's like, should we do something? Should we call the police? What should we do?
911, what's your emergency? Excuse me, officer, we have a mid-thigh skirt situation. What situation? It only goes down to to her mid-thigh. I repeat, it only goes down to her mid-thigh. Ma'am, are you okay? I know that there are actual murders and crimes happening, but damn it, somebody bring me a ruler and handcuffs.
And I was like, no, there's just a bunch of silly little teenagers. I didn't think anything major was going to come out of it, but they started to make threats. So I finally got up and I was like, listen, I shouldn't have to sit at a restaurant and look at your private parts. It's plain and simple. And I tried to explain to them the Department of Child Protective Services, and because there was a 10-year-old sitting next to me, and he's the one that pointed out that we could see her private parts, I didn't even get that far, because the next thing I know, I felt like the whole gang of women and their boyfriends. I actually, at that point, my boyfriend was like, I'm afraid they're going to hurt you or hurt me or something.
I'd just like to point out real quick how the entire time Ida was referring to these teenagers as these little teens everywhere.
A bunch of little 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. As I'm sitting there listening to all these little teenagers around me, and I was like, no, there's just a bunch of silly little teenagers.
But suddenly, after she's done pants to girl and was catching heat from the witnesses, suddenly she flips the script in this call and refers to them as, you know, the whole gang of women and their boyfriends.
I felt like the whole gang of women and their boyfriends.
There's just these gangs out here running wild in the streets.
I actually, at that point, my boyfriend was like, I'm afraid they're going to hurt you or hurt me or something. So I finally just was like, okay, fine, I'm just going to sit back down. So I sat back down and I was like, we discussed it, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it go. Like, surely they're not stupid enough to do something dumb.
Yes, Ida, surely they're not stupid enough to do something dumb. I don't know, maybe don't put your salty hands on a teenager that you think is a minor without their consent. Now listen, it's true that indecent exposure around kids, or I mean anyone for that matter, is not okay. But supposedly Ida is asking for CPS to be called in the name of protecting a 10-year-old child, which number one is a fundamental misunderstanding of Child Protective Services, and number two, did it ever occur to you that perhaps it's simply a matter of vantage point? Like, think about it for a second. Let's say that there was cheeks blowing in the breeze. The teen in question in the skirt in question is standing up, and the 10-year-old, who's obviously going to be like, you know, much smaller than any adult and lower to the ground, is sitting down. Isn't it maybe entirely possible that the mini or midi skirt of acceptable length when viewing from a regular position might be different from a small child on a chair that is much lower and might be seeing upwards into things? Did we ever consider that? I don't know, because that's kind of the way physics works, isn't it?
Yeah, there'll be a day when AI takes over and it'll make us their pets.
Is it physics? Is that the way? I don't know. Physical, whatever.
So why didn't I flinch? Because the laws of science differ fundamentally from those of...
And beyond that, what do you think your actions just taught that very young, impressionable 10-year-olds? That if you don't like what a girl or a woman is wearing, that it's okay to just put your hands on her and shame her in public? Charming! So of course, Ida Ann remained cool and calm and collected and sat her happy ass back down so that they could just all, you know, let this go. And then they held hands and sang Kumbaya together, right?
Well, today I do have screenshots. They started trying to find out on a public forum who I am, my private information. They have since posted on the St. George, I guess, word of mouth, a video of me confronting them, trying to explain to them what happened, but they snipped it and they've put their own twist and agenda on it. So people have actually started to reach out to me to threaten me and all kinds of things because I work for the department.
I do have to give Ida some grace on one thing. Like, I personally am not a fan of people digging into the personal home lives, like names, like the information of citizens, especially private citizens. There's literally like laws around that. And then blasting it online. That's called doxing. It is generally illegal. And in situations like this, where the goal is to humiliate, harm, or harass, or like distress, or jeopardize someone's safety, which is most often always what happens when you dox someone, their safety is now threatened, then it's against the law and can carry charges that lead to other hefty charges like stalking, identity theft, and incitement of violence. Like, I've seen people doxed, I've had friends who were doxed, and they immediately filed charges. And the people who doxed them went to jail and had to pay a lot of money in fines. But back to it. In that call, Ida seems so focused on herself and her self-righteous attitude that she couldn't do the math to realize that that she had placed her hands on someone's body without consent, and she was literally admitting that to the police. She even admitted to believing that the girl was underage. Even though she's the one who decided to approach a stranger unprovoked, Ida has decided that she's the victim here, and she wouldn't even have to waste her time making this phone call to the police if it hadn't been for those lousy, meddling little teenagers. Excuse me, I mean a gang of women. But the police were not having Ida's bull. And so they wanted Ida to specify what kind of threats the teenagers had made.
When you're saying threats that were made to you, you said threats twice. What are those threats?
They're basically, they posted it on a public forum so that that way I can be fired because they feel that I'm a Karen.
Accused of being a Karen.
And it's not acceptable that I approach them. On top of that, they're threatening me of sexually inappropriately touching her in her butt. And in one of, basically, they're trying to get me fired. And accusing me of sexually inappropriately touching one of them.
Did you touch her?
No, I didn't.
I thought you said you pulled her skirt down.
I did. I touched her skirt, but I didn't touch her.
I mean, we can talk about that later, I guess. But after you send me that video, I'll review it and I'll give you a call back in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Can you imagine calling the police to tell them that you've been accused of essaying someone? That's so unhinged. I guess, I don't know, they be saying that criminals out here want to get caught and they do all kinds of things to tell on themselves. I don't know if that's what this is.
Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
That's why I stay out of like a Karen's way, man. Like they out here loose in these streets trying to prove a righteous point, but eventually they're going to tell on their whole ass selves. When the online hate parade didn't show signs of stopping anytime soon, Ida Ann marched her fully clothed tuchus down to the St. George police station to continue on in her crusade.
So these little girls have continued to incite a mob, and I've been harassed all day. Not only did they took it down from St. George Post and her Facebook, but now she put it on Instagram and now she put it on TikTok. So I turn notifications off and everything. I'm 100% in believing in freedom of speech and free, but when you omit, delete, and make it seem like one situation is totally different than the other, and then accuse me of sexual harassment without the facts, like at some point something needs to be done, it needs to be stopped, and they have a reputation for doing this.
I just want to point out that yet again, Ida Ann refers to them as these little girls.
These little girls have continued to incite a mob, and I've been harassed all day.
Which means she's touched this little girl inappropriately to the level that the man next to her said it would be SA if he did it.
I would be accused of sexual harassment if that had happened.
Cool. The curtains don't match the carpet the way she actually can't stop telling on herself. Ida is so convinced that she's in the right that she's fully making admissions on camera that can and will be used as evidence in court.
Because of the sensitivity of the nature, and everyone thought she was a minor because she did look like a minor, and there was a ton of kids. It was the high school ball.
Did you think she was a minor?
Yes, I did.
This whole grown-ass woman really just said, because of the sensitivity of the nature, I'm just like, can you tell me why, if you acknowledge that this was a sensitive situation, why the hell did you think sticking your hands up the bottom of a girl and yanking her skirt down to the girl's shock and dismay in public was a good idea? If it's so sensitive?
I actually thought she was, and that's why I was like...
I just don't understand.
So I don't
understand why you went up and touched her.
I didn't touch her as a person. Like,
I mean, you can find it. But you see how that looks, right?
I got a standing ovation from everyone that was seating behind me.
That's totally beside the point legally. So I understand that there's inappropriateness with how she's dressed. I can totally understand that portion. I can understand that things got blown out of proportion, and I can understand your standpoint from it. But I guess, what do you want me to do?
What sweet darling Ida Ann doesn't realize is this is the moment. This right here is where the cop ate her all the way up. She said she got a standing ovation from everyone around, and he said with the quickness, and I quote, "That's totally beside the point legally."
I just don't understand. I don't understand why you went up and touched her. But you see how that looks, right?
I got a standing ovation from everyone that was seating behind me.
That's totally beside the point legally.
Honey, you better run, Ida. Ida, grab your son and run, honey. They is on to you.
Well, the post needs to come down, and they need to
That's freedom of
stop.
speech. There's no crime.
Not when
They can say whatever they want.
No, but I mean, they're reaching me. All their little friends.
Have you told them to stop talking to you?
No, because.
Try that.
Dude, he just like read her for filth. Have you told them to stop talking to you? No? Try that. My voice went up octaves for that. The thing is, Ida's going on about harassment from online comments, but this isn't like a baby reindeer situation. She's just getting a taste of her own medicine, unsolicited judgment from total strangers after essaying a stranger because of her unsolicited judgment about the length of a stranger's skirt. And it doesn't stop there, because a few days later, the victim, yes, she is a victim, she decided to come in and file a police report and agreed to a police interview where she told her side of the story.
She came up, reached her hands, her cold hands went up my skirt, and I felt her hands up my skirt, and then I felt like a tug, and like my skirt doesn't go down much farther, like it's not that short of a skirt, and so I felt this tug, and I like whip around thinking it's one of my friends or something, and I'm just kind of standing there in shock, so I'm like, here's this woman I don't know who just came up and touched my bare butt, like I have no clue who this is. And like, not even the physical side of things, but mentally, like I'm struggling so much with weight problems. And for her to come up and do that and make me feel even more insecure in my own body is outrageous to me. So she came up, did that, and then she touches me, or she does that, and then she says, you're underage, you should probably hide that. If you think I'm underage, why are you touching a minor at all? Especially if you think I don't have underwear on.
Yeah, the logic wasn't there.
No.
Period. The math ain't mathin', and it feels like Ida just wanted an excuse to enact her own form of like vigilante wardrobe justice. I mean, even the police agree.
Yeah, the logic wasn't there.
No.
For me. That's why I was wondering when you mentioned that you thought she might be drinking, I thought there was a judgment issue maybe going on too.
Right. And then she came back up a second time. Our other friend, same name, she was standing right next to her, and the second time she came up, she touched both their hips and squeezed them, like pinched us, and said she was going to call Child Protective Services if she saw them. The rest was on video.
I saw the video, and I think 57,000 other people saw it too.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there was alcohol involved, but it wouldn't matter. Drinking does not excuse someone from putting their hands on another person, period. But in any case, she not only touched one girl, but pinched others on the hips. Like, what the are you doing? And you know what? That dude was right. If he did it, he would be catching a case. So what the f? Now, in later body cam footage, the victim says that she was wearing underwear and shorts beneath the skirt, and also sent a video of herself spinning in the skirt to show investigators the length and confirm that it was not revealing. Now, did the girl also say in the body cam footage that Ida touched her bare butt? Yes, but also, can we stop for a minute to just really acknowledge how ridiculous this all is? Like, this is America, not The Handmaid's Tale. Although, listen, some of these politicians, man, they get in these streets feeling scarier every day. But I think it's kind of ridiculous that this victim had to send a video of herself twirling in the skirt to show investigators the length. Like, the victim who was assaulted in public had to twirl in front of investigators. I just let that sink in. She had to show off her body and... So how do you think this goes for Ida Ann? Well,
after listening to everything Tortelli about everything going on, I talked to Sakura, I got some of their video, I've got the TikToks. I think most everybody in the city has that TikTok. And then we've got your statement, her statement, so I try to make it as unbiased and fair as I can, right? I do have some concerns from what I've been told by them. Obviously, some things you've also told to me, right? Even when we talk two wrongs don't make a right, when we're talking about that, I said, there's criminal behavior that's happened, regardless, because there's video footage and because of the claims made, and I have to protect victims. Today, you're going to be placed under arrest for sexual battery.
On April 24th, Ida was arrested and charged with battery, then booked into, and you're not gonna believe this, like the way I screamed when I first read this. She was booked into, this is too much, y'all, this is too much, kid! She was booked into Purgatory Correctional Facility in Hurricane, Utah. I am done. Take the knives, the forks, throw the cutlery out. out. This story is cooked. I'm telling you, man, sometimes these stories. Now, she was released after posting bail, and she had a trial date set for a few months later, but the Karen karma didn't stop there. On the very next day, April 25th, after Ida Ann was charged, she received this letter from the Attorney General's office. You know, her employer, the state. Quote, I am writing to inform you that you have not passed your probationary employment period successfully, and today, April 25th, 2024, you are being separated from state employment with the Attorney General's office and in quote. I guess she doesn't work for the state anymore. Now, when it came time for trial in Utah, S battery is a Class A misdemeanor and can be punished by up to 1 year in jail and a fine of up to $2,500. So instead, on July 30th, Ida pled no contest to the charges, reducing the charge to a Class B misdemeanor, which will appear on her record for another year and involves no sentence as long as she, doesn't pants another girl or commit another offense. Like, time will tell if she learns to keep her Ida hands to herself. I'm pretty proud of that joke. Now, Ida also has to undergo a mental health evaluation and receive a diagnosis from a licensed provider in the state of Utah as part of the plea deal. After that, there will be further recommendations, but I think, mind your business should be at the top of the list. I have a question. Has everyone lost their damn minds these days when it comes to outside behavior? Like, do we need to go back to teaching kindergarten manners to full-grown adults? Like, I think working for the state made her feel like she was somehow untouchable, when all it tells me is that some people are so ready, willing, and able to abuse their power against unsuspecting people. Like, was the skirt too short for conservative standards? Does it matter? I'm just glad this was one of the rare cases where some form of justice took place. Statistics on SA convictions in the United States and in Utah specifically are not great. Only 6% of cases are prosecuted. So when the courts are deciding that you were in the wrong, I think it's time to do some deep self-reflection about impulse control. Or what the hell do I know? Because Ida is now soliciting donations via GoFundMe for living costs after losing her job as a result of her actions. Even in the description, it's clear that the accountability thing is lacking. Quote, I'm a single mother who survived. Wow, that is a word choice. Survived a huge characterization attack, a widespread of misinformation, which ensued outright judgment, shaming, and severe harassment by the masses in a court of public opinion. It was amazing to survive these circumstances despite irresponsible news reporting and broadcasting, mass dissemination of biased information by private individuals, and at times outright lies by some seeking to promote a personal agenda or their own social media accounts without regard to the fact that I am a human being just the same. While I don't condone her actions, I also don't think anyone deserves to be punished forever for one mistake, so I have linked her fundraiser in the description below. Or so you thought.
Larry, you can't just...
Larry! Oh, are you alright?
Larry!
Y'all didn't really think I was gonna plug her fundraiser, did you? Okay, listen, I have some compassion. People shouldn't be harassed. But also, why do you get to grift off of putting your hands on someone you thought was underage? Allegedly? Here's what I really don't love about this behavior. Random citizens, often in positions of power or privilege, decide to appoint themselves judge, jury, and executioner, often against a very vulnerable class because they think they will get away with it. And sometimes they do. And sometimes that costs actual lives. Not you're offended at a restaurant. I would say Ida was wasting the police officer's time by complaining, but at least they did get one criminal off the streets and some justice for a very young victim who will potentially carry this violation of her body autonomy for a long time. Like, I hope she's healing. I hope she's okay. I hope she knows the length of her skirt does not say anything about her right to feeling safe in her own body. And I applaud her for coming forward. Like, no one has the right to place their hands on someone's body, especially their private areas, without that person's consent. But like that officer in the body cam video mentioned, everyone has the right to freedom of speech, which means that people technically have the right to Karen. And sure, everyone is entitled to an opinion, but some people are honestly just entitled. Whew, okay, Susperians, time to step out of the dark waters of the cesspool, grab a towel and dry off. That's what I got. If you want to hear more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and go ahead and tickle the like button for more, and let me know in the comments if you have any stories you'd like to dip into. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, linked below. That's where I post most often, and also announce opportunities to have your thoughts featured in my main deep dives on my main channel, Swoop. I have a new deep dive Swoop documentary out on my main channel. It is linked below and in the pinned comments. I highly recommend you watch this after this. We are talking about, oh my gosh, the nonsense of just pearly things. Wow, if you thought the manosphere was bad enough with like Andrew Potato Tate Tot, yeah. Enter Pearl. Also, be sure to grab your very own pieces from the Valid Ribcage and Valid Social Club collection in the Petty University shop, linked below as always. I know that you're gonna love these pieces, and stay tuned for the first official Suspool apparel, also coming soon. We've been working on that for months and months and months and months and months, so I can't wait for that. Be sure to join me in a new adventure and learn a new language in just 10 minutes a day with Babbel, and tap my link below to get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription today. And treat yourself to new experiences and new memories. You deserve it, honey. Thanks for coming for a swim. Have a good day out there. Keep it creepy, keep it cute, and I'll see you next time in the cesspool. Swoop!